Welcome or welcome back. For those who don't know me, my name is Money, and this is Conversations in the Chair, a space where I share different topics about things I'm going through, gone through, and grown through. A digital journal, so to speak, all in the hopes to encourage and inspire you. Today's episode is about the month of September, and as we all know, it's uh, it's about transitions and new beginnings. Joining me today is a very, very special guest in the studio, my youngest daughter, Brianna.
Hello.
So, September, back to school, new challenges, the rewards of getting back into a routine, new environments, etc., etc. So, how was your summer?
Very long. I had 10 weeks off, which was quite nice.
Why was your summer so long?
Because I finished my GCSEs in June.
And how did they go?
Very good. I did very well.
She says modestly.
They were very hard to get through, and it was a long time, but once they were finished, it was it changed really quickly. Like, it was really intense for a really long time. Then once they were done, it was really calm. So it was nice not being stressed and stuff. And yeah, summer was basically just relaxing and chilling, which I guess are synonyms. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
So 10 weeks off, laying around.
Yeah, I was napping
going to
a lot.
the park.
I was napping a lot the first few weeks, and then
and snacking.
Yeah.
Catching up on your shows.
Yeah.
What was the highlight of your summer?
Oh, highlight. I don't know. I don't think there was one part that was particularly better than any of the others. I just think the general atmosphere of having time to myself, being able to do activities during the day, and not having to get ready for school, and it's just about homework and revision, just having time to myself. I feel like when you're on school holidays, you get your personality back, because Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, you're at school or you're doing homework. You don't really have time for yourself. But when the holidays hit, you feel like you remember all your hobbies and all your interests and stuff. So I think that was the highlight, having time to myself again, more than one particular
thing. So during that 10-week extended summer holidays, there came a point on the calendar, i.e. August 22nd, and as they say in all these game shows, the envelope, please. You opened a certain envelope. And what did it say?
I passed all my GCSEs.
She passed all her GCSEs, ladies and gentlemen. Woo woo!
Not to sound conceited, but I knew that was going to happen anyway.
Well, you put in a lot of hard work, so
yeah, it wasn't really about passing. It was more how well I could do after that. I knew that I was going to pass all of them because I had that ability. But yeah, I did well.
You did well. She did very well, exceptionally so. Which meant you got into the sixth form of your choice.
First choice. I was very happy.
First choice, so she's very happy. So summer holidays is over, 10 weeks is over, and we are in September. Do you remember?
I think that's fine.
And we're back to school. And
it was we. I'm the one
getting okay, all right. You're back to school. But September does have that kind of set feeling about it. How does it feel being back into a routine now? It's been a couple of weeks.
It's actually there's somewhat mixed feelings towards it. When I'm at school, it's pretty much fine. I'm really enjoying my lessons. So being at school, during the day, is pretty much fine. I don't mind having the routine of going to lessons. I think travelling has really taken it out of me the last 2 weeks because
that's a new thing, isn't it?
Yeah. I underestimated how long it takes to get to school. I thought it was 15 minutes. It's actually an hour and 10, which is why I was struggling with the trains and stuff, as I was leaving later than I thought I had to. So this week I'm gonna have to try leave earlier so that I actually get there on time, if not earlier.
So you mean door to door? It's an hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah, like an hour and 10. I
and
thought it was 50 for some reason, but it's
Mm.
not, because if I leave like 55 minutes before school, I'll be like rushing through the park to get there.
Mhm.
So I clearly underestimated how long it took, but I know that now, so now I can leave on time. It's just quite a lot, the commute, because before I could leave like 15-20 minutes before school started, because we obviously lived so close.
To your secondary school, yeah.
Yeah, and I could just walk through the park and I was at school. Whereas now I have to like leave and then get the bus and then walk to the train station and then get on the train and then walk through another park, different park, to get to school. And it's just very different, because it's like before there was nothing that could really get in my way of going to school.
Mhm.
Whereas now it's like there's like accidents on the road, or there's
Cancelled trains.
cancelled trains, or like there was a fire the other day, and on my first day of school there was a burst water pipe. So it was like from the get-go transport has not been on my side, and it's been really difficult, because before I could just walk to school and I was never like in trouble, but now there's like all these other factors that are making it difficult for me to get to school. So that's something to deal with.
So the whole navigating the commute is obviously something new.
Yeah, and the trains are busy, and I don't like
Mm.
I don't like crowds and stuff.
Mhm.
So that is something as well.
Yeah,
It's tiring.
and of course, everybody's on their way somewhere. Usually, to work, especially 8 a.m. in the morning. It's a lot of people on the trains. Yeah, welcome to the commuter's life.
I think my first couple of times it was a bit like scary, because I'd never been on, like, obviously I've been on trains before, but I never had to commute like that, so I didn't have to like navigate it. But now it's like a few weeks and I'm a bit more comfortable getting on a train with so many people, because I don't know, maybe because I'm like still a bit young, a bit like nervous and stuff. But the first couple of times I got on the train, I've like bumped someone, or I'd be like saying, "Oh, sorry, can I get on the train, please?" Whereas now it's like I have a bit more confidence, like not like push and shove them, but I have a bit more confidence getting myself on the train and not apologising or anything.
And of course, you're getting on the train without mummy.
Yeah.
So you're really having to fend for yourself
Yeah,
on your own.
I've had to become more assertive and not let people like kind of take the piss, because there are some adults on the train that will know that. Obviously, you can tell that I'm young, I'm not an adult. Some people will take advantage of that, and they'll try and push you out the way or shove, because they're like, oh, well, she's just a young girl, so I can get on the train first, or I can push my way. So yeah, it's having to like navigate that. Like, I'm at the age where I'm in my somewhat late teens or mid-teens, but people start viewing 16-year-olds as young adults, so you have to start acting like an adult, and you have to stop thinking that, oh, you're just a small little kid. You can start thinking of yourself as an adult, and then you kind of feel like you have more space in the world, because it's like people respect you more as an adult than they do as like a teenager.
Or a young adult. You're not an actual adult yet.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Girl, if you're an adult, you better start paying some bills.
They keep calling us adults at school, and I'm like, I'm 16 years old. Like, please stop that. Yeah.
And so you're in a whole new school, sixth form college, actually. How is the new environment and sort of the whole making friends process?
Truthfully,
Yeah,
that's a hard word to say.
Don't worry, babes. I stumble over words all the time.
Truthfully, there we go. The environment is different in one of two ways. My secondary school was an all-girls school, so now I'm having to go to school with boys.
Obviously, this is a podcast, so you didn't see the facial expression she just made.
Which in itself, again, is one of two things. Some of them are nice, they're fine, kind people. Them being male doesn't bother me. Some of them are so immature, and they're so frustrating to be around, because they literally act like 7-year-olds. Like, in my brain, like, we're 16, like, no, we're not like 25-year-old adults yet, but we're old enough to like start acting more mature, but some of them don't. And I'm like, we left primary school a long time ago, you've got to pattern up, like, we can't be having this anymore. And then also, I mean, it's not just the boys that are immature. There are some girls that are a bit immature, but it's mainly boys. Wait, what was the other question?
Making new friends. And
Oh,
just
making new
adjusting to
friends.
like a whole new environment, whole new sort of school, isn't it?
I did get lost on my third or fourth day of school. I was in the library and I was trying to find a staircase, and I walked into the bathrooms, thinking that was where the staircase was. So,
And what did you do?
I stayed in the bathroom for a few minutes, because I was too embarrassed to walk straight out because then it's gonna look weird. Like, why did you walk into the bathroom and then immediately walk out? So I stayed there for a few minutes, and then um, walked out calmly, and then found my way. And the building's quite big, and there's 3 staircases, so it's like it is still a little bit disorienting. Um, I kind of just stick to one staircase and find my way from there because then I don't get
Mm.
lost. So yeah, like new building, new staff, new classrooms to get used to. There's a lot of people. My year group's over 3 times the size of my one at my old school. So there's just a lot of people, and there's 3 year groups because I do a year 14 as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, big building, a lot of people. It gets easier each week because obviously you're there for longer. But initially, yeah, it was quite daunting.
And how's the sussing people out and making new friends?
Making new friends has been so. I feel like it's kind of what's expected that you'll meet people in the first couple of days and you don't know anyone else. So you all can like group together,
Mm.
and they seem really nice. Everyone's being nice on their first day, but after a while, you're like, yeah, I don't think we're really going to be friends. Maybe you don't have anything in common. Maybe you don't actually have anything to talk about. There's a few people who their behaviour isn't really something I want to associate myself with.
Okay.
So I kind of just stay polite, and maybe I see them in the hallway, I might say hi and be
Keep it
nice.
moving.
But then other than that, I
Mm.
don't really talk to them. But I have made 2 friends, and we're all in the same pathway class, so we've like become like a little group. And yeah, I like them. One of them lives somewhat locally, I guess,
Mhm.
to us.
Mhm.
So it's nice having someone to like get the train home with and stuff. And they seem like people that I'd be friends with. Like our personalities are quite similar, which is quite nice. And it's also nice because I've been I've been in mixed friendship groups before, but also for a lot of my life I was like the only black girl in my friendship group. Whereas the 2 friends that I've made at my new school are also black, so it's nice having other black girls to be friends with and not being the only one.
And it's good that it's like representation, isn't it? You see yourself in the environment,
Mm.
because not that I mean, your secondary school was a very urban,
It's very
diverse school, but your friendship group didn't really represent the neighborhood, perhaps.
Not actually. I mean, my friendship group changed throughout secondary school, to be honest. Towards the end of secondary school,
Mm-hmm.
it was more mixed, like year 9, 10, and 11. But in year 7 and year 8, it wasn't as mixed.
Mm-hmm.
But friendship groups will change in secondary school anyway, regardless of what race you are in any school. But yeah, it's not that as I'm getting older, I'm becoming like friends with more like black girls because it's just less isolating.
Yeah.
So, and also like culturally.
And culturally, yeah, 'cause it's people who you can relate with. I mean, you're going to quite a prestigious sixth form college, but then you also went to quite a very oh, now I'm tripping over words. A very prestigious second. No, it wasn't a secondary. Okay, it was a very prestigious boarding school. Yeah. So you've been in very mixed environments. So I suppose when now in this new season of your life, you're kind of being able to suss people out a lot sooner and then make friendships that are, or align yourself with people that more look like you. Yeah. Well, that's good. That's good. That's always good. Right. So I have to say that as a parent, there was a little bit of anxiety about this transition, this new season of your life, primarily around you doing the commute by yourself.
For context, I have a history of getting lost. So me traveling.
Do you want to share the story?
Well, it's one because there's been a few.
The one when I told you and showed you which bus stop and which bus to get on to come back home.
You know what? Every time I tell the story, I always say in my defense, there was a small factor that was a little bit confusing. So, what was it, about 2 years ago now? I've been like, because I went to the summer thing.
You went to an open day at
No, it was a workshop.
Or a workshop at a university.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Greenwich, and Mum, I think maybe like you went with me the first day, and like you showed me the bus or something like that, or like you showed me how to get there. So after the workshop and come back home, And I go to the place you're telling me to go to. I go to that exact bus stop. I see the bus, so I get on it. I'm on my way home. Also, I thought. Um, okay, you could argue that I should have checked the bus. Okay, fine, whatever. But I
What
also
do you mean,
thought
fine, whatever?
I didn't make it clear that it's one of those bus stops where they all start and end at the same place. Because you know how like a bus stops is on either side of the road, so they obviously go in opposite directions. I thought it was like that. So I thought if I get on the bus at the stop, it will take me home.
Yeah.
But I didn't know it was one of those bus stops where you have to check like the label on
The
the bus
destination, yeah.
because they stop and start at the same place. So I saw that it said
The number you would
the
need.
number, and I was at the right stop, so I got on. And what I thought was about halfway home, and I'm noticing that like I don't really recognize the area anymore. Like I've seen it before, but it doesn't look familiar like how I got there. So I'm getting a little bit confused, but I don't really think too much of it. And then another 10 minutes down the road, I'm still not recognizing like anywhere. I'm looking and I'm like, I've never seen these shops, I've never seen these road names. Like, is it on diversion? Like, why does the bus go a different way? And then again, I'm not thinking anything of it. At this point, I'm like, I should probably text mum. I'm like, it should be fine. I'm just going a different way or something. And then I look up and I see a bus going in opposite direction, going towards where we live. So I'm looking at the bus. I'm like, but wait, I'm going there. So how can you be going there if you're going in the opposite direction? And then behold, I was not going home. I was in fact going in the exact opposite direction to our house. When what's it called, the Blackhawk Channel? That scared the life out of me. I was like, where am I? Why am I in a tunnel? I can't see anything. It's got all these like yellow lights. I'm like, I don't know where I am. That was scary. I think I was like testing with mum, being like, the bus said it was going to Lewisham, but we're not going to Lewisham anymore. So what's going on? So yeah, I'm not always great with travel.
So yes, you can understand why there was some anxiety on my part of you going to a new school far, far away, as they say in Shrek. But so far, so good. You're really doing well on the commute by yourself.
I'm getting lost. I don't think I can. It's quite straightforward, to be honest.
So was the bus ride home.
You did tell me.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, my
me.
daughter. So yeah, have you had any anxiety around the travel or just the change, I suppose?
Yeah. Especially this week, it's kind of gotten worse. Or not as much gotten worse as much as it's just started to have anxiety. It's quite stressful with the trains because most of the time they're on time and you don't have to worry about anything. But if you miss it, or like the other day was an incident where I managed to miss 3 buses in a row. So it's like stuff like that. There's lots of like elements that could make your travel quite complicated. I'm still annoyed that the bus that didn't stop for me when I put my hand out, that was annoying. And also because the school's like they emphasize like being on time and professional behaviours. So if you're late, it can be quite anxiety inducing because it's like, oh god, I'm late. And especially so early in the year, you don't want to set a bad impression. And also there's anxiety about like not knowing anyone prior to starting to the school and being so far, and all my friends have either stayed at our secondary school or like a few have left. I only actually know one that's left. So yeah, it's just, I think the first couple of weeks can sometimes be quite isolating because you've met people and there might even be a few that you're starting to become friends with, but when you haven't got those like deep rooted friendships. So like all my friends right now have been friends for like years now, whereas them have been in them for a few weeks. So you don't have that like
core,
yeah, that like emotional connection. So yeah, I don't know what to say, to be honest. It can be quite nerve-wracking at the start.
Now, summer is coming to an end. One could argue, did we have a summer? But we won't get into that. And how are you finding balance? Are you finding balance? Are you aware that you need to find balance? Because you've had 10 weeks to kind of recalibrate after your GCSEs, and you know all your hard work has paid off, and then some. But how are you balancing out, you know, the stress of the commute, the anxiety of like getting lost on staircases when you think you're going downstairs, but you end up in the bathroom, and new friends. Like, how are you balancing that?
Um, I would say initially it was quite hard to balance it, to be honest, because I think most of it actually comes out of the commute. Because when I was at secondary school, I did have a lot of work to do my GCSEs, so I'm used to having a lot of work. But because I lived so close to our school, I had more time in the afternoon to get things done. It was still difficult, like I was still a teenager, like balancing being at school a day and then trying to exercise and look after mental health and chores and stuff like that. Still stuff to
Social
learn,
life.
and social life. It's still something to learn as a teen. You're still quite young, but now that I started a new school, because the commute is quite straightforward, but it actually takes a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not getting home until like before 6 every day, and having to leave.
Just
I'm
after
leaving the
8.
same time,
Mm.
but my school starts later, which is why I'm leaving the same
Mm.
time. It's quite a lot, and I think maybe the first 2 weeks was quite a shock because I guess in a way I hadn't really mentally prepared myself to start sixth form. Normally I'm quite good at not quite good, somewhat good at mentally preparing myself for new things, but I kind of just cruised into it. Like in the summer, I wasn't really thinking about it too much because I didn't even know if I'd gotten in yet. I hadn't even got my grades back, so I didn't really think about the transition. And then the week running up to me starting, I wasn't really prepared mentally or physically. So when it did start, not that it would have been, not that I could have avoided it, but when the transition did start and I had to get used to like the commute and being lost in school and like not having any friends yet because it's only the second day of school, I wasn't ready for all of those emotions because I didn't really think about them. So finding balance was quite hard because I was like so exhausted when I came home from school today because I'd spent so much time traveling.
Mm.
And it's probably going to get a bit harder because when it gets into winter, it's going to get darker. So I'm going to be coming home and it's going to look like it's pitch black outside. So balance is quite hard, but I guess I'm trying to improve it by like having a bit of downtime when I come home.
How are
And
you doing that?
well, I like to watch a lot of film and TV, so I normally watch an episode or two of something. I like reading, so I've currently got a stack of books behind us that I'm reading right now. So I read. Sometimes I like do a little like craft stuff in my journal. Probably need to go for more walks. So yeah, I try to like make like try and do activities that I like. And I also make lists on my phone of stuff that I need to do so that I get less overwhelmed. And also because I forget things easily, I have to have it written down so I remember what I need to do. So that's kind of how I'm like balancing
Okay.
things.
Just trying to be a bit more organized. Oh, that's good. I mean, as as we move through this month and the rest of the first term, it's all about just navigating and feeling things out and knowing where you are, and not just physically in the building, but where you are in life. And how can, so for anyone listening, any other sort of parent and child going through, the start of school, here's a big question. And I'm sure, it might be different for different people. But what does support look and feel like? What kind of support would help you in the early stages of this new season? Yes, you.
You said to the parents and children, I thought you were talking to them. But what does support look like for me?
Yeah.
Oh, that shouldn't be a hard question, but sometimes it is hard to think about like what you need help with. I think just like having a helping hand sometimes that things won't go right all the time. Like you can try and be organized and have a plan, but there's only 24 hours in the day.
Mm.
And if you're spending like 2 or 3 of those traveling, 7 of those at school, I can't do the math, what's that, 10 hours? There's a lot going on. Things won't always go perfectly. So sometimes you kind of just need help in a few areas. Encouragement, support, Um, yeah, I think just like there's a lot of pressure in teens, and it sometimes gets spoken about, but I think understanding that if things go wrong, kind of like giving the kids space to like try and not feel too down about it, if that makes sense. So like if they make a mistake or something goes wrong, like don't like blame them or get angry straight away. Like try and like help them before you judge them for making the mistake, because sometimes things will go wrong even if you try to like organize or plan it to not go wrong. So kind of like having that
Grace.
yeah, that's what I would say. Um, that's what I can think of on the spot. To be honest, I'd have to sit and think about it to get a more in-depth answer. But yeah, that's my answer.
Are you enjoying your new school?
Yes, I am.
Favorite part so far?
My camera lighting and sound class, which is nice because that's when I thought I was going to enjoy the most, because it's what I'm interested in when it comes to like film and TV. Um, the curriculum is nice.
The what?
Curriculum.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice learning something that I'm actually interested in, because with GCSEs it's a lot of information that you don't care about, and I would truthfully say for the most part, especially with what the job market looks like in modern day, you're very not necessarily very unlikely, but you're somewhat unlikely to actually go into the exact field that you learn at school. There's lots of other jobs and ways of life that you don't get taught at in like British secondary schools. It's just like math, science, English, geography. So it's nice doing something creative and kind of out of the box and out of the norms.
Here's another question. Now that you're in sixth form, did school prepare you for sixth form?
No, I don't think secondary school prepared me for sixth form in its entirety. I think there were some aspects that they tried to, but it just wasn't executed to like the highest level.
Such as?
Um, for example, we did a lot of PSHE in year 9 and 10, and we'd get given these god awful booklets about careers and jobs, but it was all very mainstream. It was typical jobs that you'd see, and nothing wrong with those jobs, but it kind of puts you on this path of traditional stay in the box thinking. They didn't really venture out into other job opportunities. So it would be things like doctors, teachers, mechanics, engineers, and we need all of those jobs. But I think it's more convenient for them to kind of like across the country teach a bunch of kids information that they don't really need to know in the wider world nor care about, only train them or have them be interested in certain jobs, and then put them into university and then go get those jobs. So I feel like they didn't really prepare us to kind of look outside the box and kind of venture to be more creative and inspired. I think now that I've started a creative sixth form, I'm kind of opening myself up to different ways of life. Like even the other day, I was telling you about how I didn't know that there are people who can like travel for work, and like they don't actually live in a permanent location; they just travel, like stuff like that. You don't learn that, so it's very like one way of thinking, one track mind. So there's that.
Oh, nomads.
Yeah, nomads. I think also maybe this is something that you just have to learn yourself in life generally and not at school. But I've they talk a lot about society, and they're like everyone being respectful and stuff, but they don't really encourage you to challenge behavior that's inappropriate when you see it. Often you can maybe see or hear something happening, and then yourself you know it's wrong, but you don't feel like you have the ability to do anything about it. So it's all well and good them having these conversations about how to be respectful and different identities and stuff like that. But when you go into the wider world, if no one puts their hand up and says something's wrong, then nothing's ever going to change. So, like, they'll talk about it, but they don't really feel like they give you the tools of like how to navigate like conflict and stuff like that. So that's some stuff that I feel like I'm seeing more in sixth form that I didn't see in secondary.
It's interesting. Do you feel school has taught you everything you need to know for this period, season of your life?
Like starting a new school.
Yeah, being sort of mid to late teens, starting a new school, starting a new section of the academic school, academic ladder. So you're not like you're not 12 and you're not 12 years old in year 8. You're now 16 at a sixth form college. So at this point in your life, there's going to be different tools that you need in your toolbox. Do you feel school has taught you what you need to know for this season of your life?
To an extent, but I'm not feeling it yet. Like they would have told us stuff like in 6 months, a lot more independent studies. So you have to time management and prioritize tasks. Um, Other than that, I can't really put my finger on what they taught us about being in our late teens slash young adults, as some might call it. I can't really say what else they would have taught us aside from like how to navigate the sixth form.
What have you discovered you were not taught that you actually need to know?
God, probably quite a few things. Um, this is probably quite educational based, but things like CVs, we never actually got taught about that. It was on like the curriculum piece of tube, but never happened. Um, we were supposed to do more that thing where they bring in people from different like workforces to do like a careers event. There we go, that's what I'm saying. We didn't really get that many careers events, to be honest. We didn't see that many inspirational people come in to school to do like talks and workshops and such. So there's that. Or just like personal development, I feel like wasn't really encouraged. Again, I'm not sure that's something that people need to go on their own individual journey to experience. But I honestly think that if you're going to spend so much of your life in school from like 4 to maybe even 21 if you go to university, that's like, can't do mental maths, I want to say 17 years. That's a long time to spend in school. So like most of the day, every week for 6 weeks at a time until you get like 1 or 2 weeks off, you're spending all your time in education with curriculum set by the higher ups in the government, like Department of Education. But so much of what you need to know isn't, you're not going to find that in a textbook. And I think that it is all right to acknowledge that there's some things that you will discover like on your own personal journey. But also, if you're going to put a bunch of kids from like 4 to 21 in, maybe 4 to 18 because it's mandatory education, you should change what you're teaching them, because then they come out and it's like, what do you actually know about life? Like I thought kids were going to be a bit more mature at sixth form, but there's still some kids that are acting quite immature. But I think also if that's the environment you've been in for like the past 5 years, how would you know to act any different? Like I think they should put us in more professional environments slightly earlier, not to be like overwhelming or challenging, but to kind of introduce you to how to kind of be a bit more mature, how to think outside of the box, be more creative. Because you like since I think sixth form, you do get treated very differently. They expect,
and it introduces you and exposes you to the work culture.
Yeah, it feels very worky. It's still like school, so you're still like doing lessons with your teacher, so it's not like you're in a job. But I don't feel like I'm treated like a kid anymore. Like in my English class, only 5 months ago, and I still would have been at school, my teacher said to us, she was like, "You guys want to think of yourselves as children, but I do." Now she's also mother of two small kids, so maybe she just sees anyone under 18 as a kid. But now months later, I'm at sixth form, and they're talking to us and around us and treating us like adults. In the space of 5 months, I've gone from being a child to being an adult, which is like
That was quick.
a few months ago you said I was a child and now I'm an adult. So yeah, just very different treatment and environment that you'll settle into over time, but it's very different going from secondary to sixth form because how the expectations are really different. And I knew it would have to be like more independent study, but I wasn't expected to be treated like an adult. So I wasn't really prepared for that.
Is that um, is that exciting? Being treated as an adult in an educational setting? Like, how are you adjusting to that? How are you finding it?
I would say it's 85% exciting, 50% nerve wracking. The 85 because it's nice. Like, since I was like little, people have always told me I'm very mature for my age. And it's not to like boast or put other 16-year-olds down. I just say that how I act has just always been a bit more mature than other kids. People always think I'm 2 to 3 years older than I actually am. So for me, it's nice because I feel like I'm on the same wavelength with the teacher sometimes. Like when I'm talking to them, I feel like we're on the same level. It's also nice like not being spoken down towards how like I actually feel respected. As I said earlier, people don't really respect children and teenagers. I feel like unless you're a working adult, you don't really get much respect. And I get that kids younger, they're not mature and stuff, but it doesn't make them not a human. So since being at sixth form, there's a the respectful culture is more mutual. When you're in primary secondary, it's respect the teachers, respect the staff, da da da. No one ever talks about respecting the students because there's a hierarchy and it's very clear and they don't deny that. It's like students at the bottom and then everyone else at the top. Whereas at sixth form, everyone's on the same level and it's nice that actually feel acknowledged. But the 15% is scary because it means that the world's getting real. Like,
welcome, waiting to connect.
In a few years' time, like I'll be working, which is fun.
Is it?
But well, this is another thing that I'll talk about in a second. It's scary because then it's like, oh god, I'm coming like in a few years' time. I'll be an adult and there'll be more responsibilities. But I also think maybe this is a naive point of view, but to an extent, being an adult sounds fun because people who complain about being an adult are people who don't like their jobs. I always hear people say, "Oh, well, no one likes a job," or "A job's for money so you can live, not to actually enjoy it." But like, I want to enjoy my job. If I'm going to do it for 30 years, I might as well get something out of it.
True, very true.
So there's that. But yeah, definitely the culture of respect is very different at sixth form, or at least the sixth form that I go to. Teachers would not have been as respectful to you in secondary school and acknowledge you as you're in person. There's just very much a hierarchy because we're kids. So it's like, oh well, the kids didn't respect them, but like, no, because also, you know how people will repeat the behaviour that they've seen.
Mhm.
If you have a generation or multiple generations of kids who aren't respected when they're in secondary school, you've never taught them how to respect other people. So if you disrespect a bunch of like 12, 13, 14-year-olds in secondary school because they're younger than you, when they grow up, they're just going to replicate that behaviour. And now you've just got a bunch of 20-year-olds that just are rude. So I think introducing mutual respect from a younger age will just continue throughout life rather than introducing it when you're a working adult, when you spent the first like 20 years of your life being looked down on because of like the hierarchy in school.
Slightly changing lanes. Now in your new sixth form and this new season, is there anything that you would previously look as a failure or a setback that you're now going to use as a stepping stone?
That's a big question. Something I would have.
Or mindset shifts?
I think giving myself the opportunity to fail has been a big. I'm still working on it. It's only 2 weeks into sixth form, but it's been a big shift so far. In that, I think most of my secondary school teachers would agree that I was always really hard on myself, and I've always put a lot of pressure on myself. I don't know why. I don't know where it comes from. I've been like that since I was little. I've just always had high expectations. I like things being done a certain way the first time round. I don't like doing things again because I got it wrong the first time. And I think trying to give myself opportunity to not get things right the first time and to make mistakes is an ongoing process. But I am trying to change that because it's not fun feeling negative all the time, especially about yourself or your own work. And I think because I'm interested in an industry where you have to make mistakes and you have to try things out and see if they go wrong, I feel like the room for experimentation and error is bigger than if it's at school, in secondary school rather, because I think in secondary it's like you get something wrong, then like you get a lower grade or you fail the test or you don't get to go on, I don't know, whatever. But in the school I'm at now, I think there's more room for mistakes and to allow yourself to like grow and try new things, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I guess before, if I did something wrong or made a mistake, I would have seen it as like a really terrible thing and I would have beat myself up about it. But now I'm kind of like letting myself make those mistakes and then just trying again better next time. So
Well, I've heard many people say that there aren't mistakes, there aren't failures. They're just was it Thomas Bell who invented the telephone, and he tried. I think I might be getting this wrong, but it could be, for argument's sake, just say he tried 30 times to invent the phone, and then someone, or he said, or someone said that he didn't fail 30 times. He just learned 30 ways how not to do it. So it's that reshifting, it's that reframing the narrative. Now, you mentioned something earlier about expectations, and it's a word that you've said a couple of times within this conversation. Are you started to manage expectations of yourself? Because there's expectations on children during secondary school, and now in sixth form, the expectations are different because they are expecting you guys to act a certain way, and manage your time, manage your money, um, look after very expensive equipment. How are you managing those expectations? Are there more expectations on your? Have you put more expectations on yourself, or are you lessening them? Like, how are you feeling about this whole subject about expectations as a young 16-year-old talented young woman?
I would say that expectations have changed and gotten. I would say they've changed. There's less of them, but the expectations themselves are bigger, which probably sounds a bit confusing. In that, in secondary school, it feels like there's so many rules and guidelines and expectations because you're younger. Whereas now that we're older, it's kind of like you have to have that self management and self regulation. So they're not going to tell you every 5 seconds, we expect you to do this, this, and this, because you're at the point where you can start managing that for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But the expectation yourself is to do bigger things. So, for example, they would never be giving us equipment and iPads in secondary school. Whereas now that's something that we have. It's a big expectation,
Mm.
but there's less of them because we're not having to be like looked after every 5 seconds, for example. So like having independent studying through periods, there's now less times in the day they can be checking up on us and telling us what to do, but then you have to manage that. So there's less things that they're asking us to do, but the few things that they are bigger.
Are bigger. And no, it's not confusing. It does make sense, and that is, I think that's a natural trajectory in life. Um, you might have less on your plate, which means what is on your plate are priorities, but those priorities are now big ones.
Yeah.
So yeah, you just have to manage. You might be juggling less balls, but the ones you are juggling,
They got bigger.
they got bigger. They're now basketballs instead of tennis balls. Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to add to this episode of Conversations in the Chair? The closing thought that you'd like to share with the listeners?
To any teens listening, I would say just kind of look at this like weird period of our lives where we're still treated like children, but they expect us to be like adults. I would say don't put too much pressure on yourself. I would say I put a lot of pressure on myself in secondary school, and though I got the grades, it didn't feel worth it. You don't get anything more out of life for like putting so much pressure on yourself. So I would say like put in hard work, but like work hard, play hard, essentially.
Work hard, play hard.
Yeah, I think like it's more rewarding if you dedicate time to your work and you study or revise or you work on your creative projects and you put it down, you do something fun, than like having a really off balance, like spending more time on your work trying to perfect it and then never being happy with it. And I guess to the parents, like, I don't know. I mean, it sounds vague, but just support your kids.
It's not. That's very specific. Here's a
Yeah.
very honest question, and we're all about honest and open conversations, painful, enlightening, and allowing us to move forward. During your GCSEs, did you feel supported? Certainly, well, at home specifically. I can't talk about your secondary school. We're not going to go there.
those that were crazy. At home, I felt supported. I did appreciate that we changed the cleaning schedule because I get overwhelmed quite easily, actually, and I think there will at times where it's a bit of a divide in our mindset because like you've been working since you were younger than I am right now.
Mm-hmm.
You've had that like hustle. You've raised like 2 kids and been working. So I'm not saying it's easy, but I think you've gotten used to having lots of things to do during the day and just getting on with it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I have like a bit more of a different, not necessarily approach, but what you can just be like, okay, just get it done. I might need like half an hour to get myself together to do it. So I think we had to find that balance where, again, expectations, you might be able to go to work, come home, do chores, make dinner, whereas something like that for me is a lot to handle in one day. So I think in GCSE, like when we had those conversations, like, can you do some of my cleaning stuff or cooking during the week so that I can revise? I just needed that, like, I needed to change the balance and like where my priorities were, because I was obviously doing my GCSEs. So I think there's support there. I appreciated the snacks as I was revising.
The snack queen.
That got me through.
The walks.
Yeah, I was just about to say that when we would go for walks because obviously it was summer, so it was still bright.
Spring, summer, yeah.
So when you would like force me out the house to go for a walk,
hot girl walk,
and we would like talk about my revision and my grades and stuff,
and your mental health.
Yeah, that helped, because they'll tell you at school like take breaks, go for walks, revise. I never revise with friends. I can't really work with other people like that. I actually work quite well revising by myself. Not the case for everyone, but just for me. But it's really hard to enforce it yourself, because there is a temptation to just sit there all evening in your room and just revise. And sometimes it's not even productive as well. You're just sitting there with flashcards, but you're not actually doing anything. So I think those walks and like talking about stuff helped, because I was like, it kind of like made me feel more open. Like instead of like being in my room where I'm more tight and confined and revising, it's like you're outside, you're talking, like you feel a bit lighter. So those helped. But yeah, I would say like, yeah, for the most part, the stuff that we did made me feel supported.
Yay!
Gold star for mum.
Gold star for mum. Yay! And I think that's a perfect place to end this episode of Conversations in the Chair. I'd like to thank today's guest, my daughter.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining me. And I wish you all the best in this new season of your life. You have worked so hard to get here, and this is just the beginning. And like I said, on many occasions when I dragged you out the house to go for a very long walk, on a hot girl walk session with our water bottles, secondary school will become just a footnote in your story, because you have such great aspirations and desire to succeed and create and produce and be impactful in this life. And I'm not just gassing you up, fam. Like, I know my child, and I know what she's capable of, and you have shared with me the things that you want to pursue and create, and the adventures that you want to have. And secondary school is just the footnote in your story. So don't sweat the small stuff.
It's not the be all end all.
It's not the be all.
It feels like it when you're in it.
Oh God, yeah.
But as soon as you finish your GCSEs, you just see there's so much more. There's so much more to life and what you're capable of than what you get in your GCSEs. Yes.
So, thank you for joining me on this episode of Conversations in the Chair for September and transitions and new beginnings. And I've been your host, Money, and I will see you and speak to you